It's time. Rogue One, A Star Wars Story is the first of possibly many Star Wars spin-off movies to be releasing. They'll come out every other year between the episodic films, and this is the first one we're getting. Rogue One is directed by Gareth Edwards, the man who helmed the reboot to Godzilla a couple years ago, and this film stars Felicity Jones, Diego Luna, Alan Tudyk, and Ben Mendelsohn, and is about a band of misfit rebels helping to locate the plans to the Death Star leading up to the events of the original Star Wars. Now, my anticipation for this film was high, maybe not as high as it was for The Force Awakens, but I was more eager to see this movie than I was for most of the blockbusters releasing this year. And I've seen Rogue One twice now, and I'm happy I did, as it kind of solidified my original opinion about this film, and that is, it's good. Nothing great, just good. And I feel like this gray area opinion kind of serves nothing. I can't really defend the film properly. I can't, pick a side between whether it's good or bad. I'm in the middle, and I just think it's good. And I know some people may be shocked because I am such a huge Star Wars fan. I didn't find this film, amazing or even better than The Force Awakens. Like I said, it's just a good blockbuster film. First off, Gareth Edwards proves once again that he is a master of directing scope. The sheer size of some things in this film is just mind-boggling, and this is something he executed perfectly in the Godzilla film. The action in this movie is also really well done, and he crafted one of the best latter halves of a film ever. It's just so epic, the finale to this movie. But it's in its inner workings that this film kind of falls apart. From a lack of character development to scenes that just don't make a whole lot of sense or go nowhere, this film is definitely not perfect. So first things first, I'll start off with our main characters, Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor. I found them to be quite bland, if I'm being honest. I never felt like I got proper character growth from any of them, and I feel like that's because I didn't know exactly who they were. I couldn't remember any of the other characters' names for the life of me other than Jyn and Krennic, and I felt like it's because we never got any characterization from any of them apart from Jyn. But upon my second viewing, I kind of had a recollection after when I was walking out of the theater, kind of thinking about maybe I just didn't know these characters' names because all the other characters in the episodic films have very short one-syllable names. I mean, just look at The Force Awakens for an example. We have Finn, Rey, and Poe. Very easy to remember names, and maybe I'm just stupid and I couldn't remember long names like Chirrut Inuru or Cassian Andor. I don't know, but I defer. I would have loved to see more of Director Krennic. Other than him just being another Imperial lackey, he was kind of bland. Also, maybe we could have gotten more of a backstory from Cassian Andor. I mean, we had that one quote from him in the movie that I remember where he's like, "I've been fighting in this war since I was 6. Of course, I don't sound like Diego Luna playing Cassian Andor, but you kind of get the point. Which, it's kind of like one of those moments where it's prove it, big shot. Show me how you've been fighting in this war from 6. It's just something he says without any weight to it. Or maybe I could have done with more of Chirrut and Baze. I just felt like they kind of tagged along with this group of rebels because the Jedha was falling apart. Sorry for minor spoilers, but I felt like they had no real motivation to fight alongside Jyn, Cassian, K2, and all the other characters. I could have done with a little bit more explanation from them. In replacement of these pinnacle scenes that could have done explaining to the character's backstory, we have these really forced character introductions where the new addition kind of states their name and what they're good at. I mean, the most blatant example is the K2SO introduction where Jyn first meet him. He's like, "I'm K2SO and I am an Imperial droid who was hacked to do good things for the rebels." Of course, I forgot the lines and that's not exactly how it went, but you kind of get what I'm trying to say. And before anybody goes and comments saying that this is a war film, listen, I totally understand that. They don't have a lot of time to sit around a campfire and share stories about who they are and their backstory. I just could have done with the slightest bit of character information, guys. I'm just disappointed that I didn't connect with any of these characters as much as I have with previous Star Wars characters. Now, one thing that'll become very prevalent as the film plays out is that even though it is a Star Wars film, it feels different. It has this new direction to it, and depending on who you are, you may come to dig it or not. Me, I found myself kind of in the middle. I didn't really pick a side. Of course, it may be weird not seeing any of the wipes in the film, but I am happy about the opening crawl. This is kind of a side note, but I understand that a lot of people had a problem with the film not having an opening crawl. I am totally okay with that. I'm happy they didn't put it in there. I mean, save that for the episodic films. This is a Star Wars spin-off movie. I don't need that. But anyways, One thing that I didn't like about this film is the amount of fan service in it. It felt kind of unnecessary and cheesy. And I understand that The Force Awakens had a lot of it, and since that film's hype sort of died down, many people are quick to jump to conclusions about it, nitpicking the shit out of the film, but I feel like nobody can deny that the fan service in that film felt very natural and necessary, where in this movie it just kind of felt like the creators were cramming it down our throat. And honestly, there's one cameo that I felt like created continuity issues that I need more explaining. I know I've been quite nitpicky so far about this film, but I did like it. Like I said, I found it to be good, and I feel like that's the problem with the film. It's just good, and as a Star Wars fan, I expect all my Star Wars films to be amazing and kind of add something new to the universe. And sadly, I didn't feel like this film added too much of anything to it other than like explaining a few plot holes that people have with A New Hope. And maybe that's another problem why I didn't feel too invested with this film, is that it's a prequel to A New Hope, and I knew kind of how things would pan out and in order for the canon to make sense. But with the ending, I didn't expect for them to go as far as they did. I mean, that's quite ballsy, Disney, I gotta say. I don't know, guys. As the film kind of concluded for my first viewing, I looked over at my friend and we kind of had the same opinion. We came to an agreement. It's a good blockbuster film, don't get me wrong, but we don't want Star Wars to become oversaturated, and a perfect example of this is the Marvel movies. When a new MCU movie comes out, I'm excited for it, but I'm not like anticipating them. I'm only excited once I get in the theater. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm like looking forward to seeing like the next chapter in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But as far as getting excited for those films, I don't anymore. Like I feel nothing. With getting a Star Wars film every year, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that after a few years. I feel like the novelty of Star Wars is waiting for the film and just hyping the fuck out of it and just getting so anticipated. I'd be totally okay without any spin-off movies and just focusing on the episodic films. Or even if we didn't get one every 2 years or something and we had to wait 3 or 5, I'd be totally okay with that. I'm just worried that the specialness of Star Wars is gonna wear off after a while, and it worries me a bit, especially after seeing this film. And I understand that this may be an unpopular opinion. I mean, you're different from me, I'm different from you. We're bound to clash at some point. I just hope that you guys, anybody who's watching this review, is just respectful that this was my opinion. Don't go hating on me just because I said I found Rogue One good and don't want a Star Wars movie every year. Once again, I did like this film. I know it seemed like I hated on it for most of my review. It's enjoyable, it's a fun ride, and I do recommend it to the veteran of Star Wars fans, as I feel like that's who this movie is really intended for. If you showed like somebody that's not the biggest Star Wars fan, or just even a casual fan, they might not get it or like it that much. If you're a huge Star Wars fan like I am, I'm sure you're gonna find some enjoyment in it. I mean, apart from being so nitpicky, it's a really good film, or it's a good film. I know I've said that like so many times in this review. We're gonna create a drinking game where every time I say it's a good film, take a shot. Anyways, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story gets a 7.5 out of 10. Alright guys, well there it is, my review for Star Wars, I'm gonna say it again, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. If you enjoyed this video, please smack that like button as always, share it to your friends, and subscribe. You'll see me back here once again talking Star Wars 11 months from now. This is really late. I actually saw Rogue One on the 15th or 16th, whenever the Thursday night midnight showing was. I saw it then, and then I saw it 2 weeks later. And I've been putting off filming this and editing just because I knew it'd be a big review. But, yeah, if you enjoyed this video, like I said, please subscribe for me for more videos. My next review will be of Deepwater Horizon or The Conjuring, so look for one of those videos in a couple days. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.